All right, welcome to AuDHotties. Trying something new this week. No, I'm just kidding.
What are we doing? What are we up to?
What are we up to around here? We're talking about aging today.
Woohoo! What a
Yeah,
privilege.
I know. All right, here we go. Audie
Hotties.
Hotties. Yeah, welcome to the Audie Hottie podcast.
Here we are.
Hi guys, I'm your co-host Bree,
And I'm McKenna.
and here today we are to talk to you about aging. Woo, woo, woo. So part of what brought this one up is a post that I saw that I'll come back to in just a minute. But I'm going to give you an in the news first.
Do-do-do.
Do-do, in the news. In the Northeast, it's not over here yet, but they're like slowly coming across the country. But there's a new movement called the Small Blue Envelopes movement,
Cute.
and it's basically an envelope that you get for if you get pulled over, and it has like instructions on it of like what exactly to do. Like, okay, you stay in your seat, you get your, stuff out of your glove box if you need to, you
Hi.
leave your hands on the wheel, talk to the cop, the cop's going to go back to his car. Like it walks through each of the steps of expectations. And then it also says like on the envelope, like this person has autism or is autistic, something like that, so that the police are also aware, and then you can put all your stuff in the envelope so that you can just hand like one envelope to them,
Okay, this is brilliant.
right? And then it also says
Yes.
on there some basics for the police officer too, that has like a little step that
Yeah.
broke down. Like this person may not make eye contact, they may seem to be
Yep.
acting weird and fidgety, like that kind of thing. They may be overwhelmed by your lights and sirens or the flashlight in their face, like things that they may not have been trained on. And I love it. I want this to spread
No,
everywhere. This
I'm
is great.
obsessed. I actually really want to do this in my program where I have already sent the email to the police department in the area. And what I want to do is I pitched it as having a conversation about like telling our students about safety, but really I want to insert some education.
For the officers.
And create a partnership, whatever. But I have seen so many awful statistics since learning about policing and how the whole system is fucked. And so it's one of those things where I feel like this is something I can do at a very like low level, but could save a life one day since I work with autistic adults. So it's like
Yeah.
that um bridge right before they're independent.
Yeah,
But
and I was saying that autistic people are significantly more likely to get like pulled from their
no, I
vehicles or
know.
taken
Yeah.
in, that kind of thing. Especially Black autistic people
Yeah.
is extremely high.
Yeah. And they die. Uh, like
Yeah.
it shouldn't be happening. And it really is. I think the kindest way to think of it is a breakdown in communication and a lack of
Mhm.
education. And if there's ways to do this, like the Blue Letter Project, which is
Blue
awesome,
envelope, yeah.
Blue
Yep.
Envelope,
Yep.
or local SLPs facilitating that fucking communication that is very easy to facilitate, um, maybe people would be a little more okay and safer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And just to help with like the nerves of it, because I know that I get extremely overwhelmed and flooded with anxiety anytime that
Yeah.
I get pulled over.
Well, it
Mhm.
makes so much sense for it to be an event that happens that there's like a societal expectation attached to it and there's a certain way of doing things. Um, I don't know what I like. I've been pulled over before, but I still don't really know the right way to do it. And like, at what point would I have learned that?
Mhm.
Like, would you have learned that in school? No. And
Yeah.
then the police pulling you over think that you have the expectation. Well, complying to power, which is not okay.
Yeah.
And I wasn't prepared to talk about this. Um, but all in all, like it just makes sense, as I work with autistic people all the time, it's facilitating the communication, it's having the clear expectations, it's having everything ready to go. Like, so that blue envelope project makes so much sense.
Yeah, super
Yeah.
cool. That's it brings up one of my favorite stories about my dad.
Yeah.
And like not knowing that he was probably autistic, talked about before. Um, so he got pulled over once when I was like in my teens
Yeah.
ish. I wasn't with him. I just heard the story afterwards, but he got pulled over and it was in our like small town and the police are usually a little jumpy on pulling people over, going like two over the speed limit or whatever. They'll pull you over for anything. But he got pulled over and my dad was very abrupt a lot of times. Like he was kind of short with people. So the police officer came up and he was like, "What was I doing? I wasn't doing anything wrong." And the officer was like, "You were going like 55 in a 40 and da 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 da." And my dad was like, "No, I was not." I'm like arguing back with the police officer. Um, and so the police officer gave him two tickets. He gave him the one for speeding and then the one for arguing.
Whoa.
And my dad was so flustered and like upset that he turned around and went home instead of going to work because I think he was on his way to work. And so he went home and like told my mom the story. And then at some point or another, he was leaving again. I don't know if it was the same day or the next day, but he went back through and the same cop pulled him back over. And he was like about to lose his mind. And the cop pulled him over and was like, "So after you left, I clocked a tree going 55. So it turns out my speed gun was broken, so I'll just take your tickets back."
Whoa. That is a surprising ending.
Yeah.
That story.
Yeah. So I think it was my dad's like sense of justice that he was like, "I was not speeding. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna fight you on this
Yeah.
because I was not." Yeah.
Listen to me.
Quick trigger warning for talks of shooting and death. Please skip ahead if you want to pass this by about a minute and a half.
In contrast, there was a black autistic teen shot at and killed about 4 months ago in
Oh,
California.
yeah.
He was having a barbecue with his family, 17 years old, and he was having escalated behavior, and a neighbor saw. It wasn't even anyone
Mhm.
at the barbecue, it wasn't any of his family, it was a bystander. And the cops came, and because the kid was not like adhering to their directions, he was killed.
Wow. Oh,
And it's so devastating. Like there's no words to describe it other than it's so wrong
mm.
and inhumane.
Yeah.
Um, and it has to change.
Yeah.
Something has to change. And it just shouldn't have happened, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely.
But it happens with people with disabilities all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's just it makes no sense to me, actually. It just
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me other than the power thing.
Yeah. Well, and the same goes for like women and men in situations with the cops, like the Gabby Petito case. I'm a big true crime person.
Yes.
And just like
Yeah.
the lack of education and handling in a case of obvious like domestic abuse where it was
Yeah.
literally reported that he was hitting her
Hmm.
and then they show up and he's all nice and polite and like the outgoing guy that nothing's wrong and she was a hysterical person losing it and beating up him and all this stuff.
That
So
documentary was wild.
yeah, it is such a good job of covering
They
everything in
did.
it, but
Yes.
yeah, but just the lack of education and like I don't know, immediate jump to aggression when, a situation needs de-escalation or yeah.
Yeah, and I really am trying to be more curious about it and approach it with more curiosity. I am trying. It's very hard. It's
Yeah.
very hard because it's such a fucked up system.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I have a real issue with black and white thinking with systems because the system
yes.
feels so messed up that it's like,
Yes.
how do you even unravel that? And like
Yeah.
how do you still understand that there are people out there with good intent in those roles?
Hmm.
It just feels like it's not with, yeah, as many bad things as do happen.
Yeah, the nuance is really hard to find.
Yeah.
I think it exists, but it's hard to find and it's hard to live there when it's like headline after headline and statistics speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Makes me sick.
Yeah.
Okay. More
Yeah.
positive. Jesus
That
Christ.
was an in the news that turned into something else. So sorry about that.
Oh my gosh,
It's
no
important.
apologies.
It's important. Yes.
Yeah.
So on to our one that we're covering this week about aging, which is also such an exciting topic. So I had seen this post that I want to read off first, that kind of spurred this idea for me for this one. So it's somebody on r/autism on Reddit. They said something I realized earlier is I'm going to be an old man and be autistic. Nothing wrong with that, but the way our culture is, you only hear about children being autistic, or sometimes teenagers and sometimes adults. But it's really hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that I'm going to be an old man who's autistic. Like, I'm going to be a senior citizen who has a special interest and STEMs, who has sensory needs, and who info dumps. Like, I've always known that autism is for life, but it's different than an adult because there are autistic adults in media who are sort of a model. So I don't know what I'm even saying, but thanks for coming to my TED Talk. That's
What
what
a
they said.
great concept.
They said, P.S. Nothing wrong with being old and being autistic. I guess I just never thought about it until now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but I thought that was really funny because I do work with geriatric
hmm
people
I have
sometimes,
too, yeah.
and especially in like assisted living homes where there's a lot of people who are starting to like go a little bit with their memory and stuff, and they become even more unmasked. Like, I don't know that I actually had anyone who was known diagnosed autistic,
hmm
but there's definitely people that you can see it likely could have been.
Well, I think it
And
goes back to who knows, they could be autistic and just have never been diagnosed or like given the opportunity to
yeah,
diagnose.
exactly. Because our
Yeah.
generation just didn't have,
Yeah.
yeah, any awareness of that.
Yeah.
And then there's people that are so rigid or, yeah, like overwhelmed by things.
hmm
And yeah. So, anyways, I thought it was really interesting. So I was like, well, let's talk about getting old.
Let's do it. It's something I don't think about a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of do because of working with people, but then it's not really something that I like picture myself. I guess I have a hard time rectifying like me with a lot of old people that I do see.
hmm
So I don't know what I'm going to be like. It'll be interesting. Okay, so some statistics that we don't have a lot of information about autistic lifespan and stuff because we just don't, again, diagnosis didn't happen early
Yeah.
enough. Like we don't have enough older people to have a study on to know like
Right.
where we're at with that. But it's believed that it's about an average of 20 years younger than people who don't have autism. I think that is swayed by potentially the suicide numbers and stuff like that
Makes
also
some,
probably. So that probably brings the average down somewhat.
yeah.
But a lot of autistic adults have more physical and mental health problems also. So that kind of adds to it. The thing that we're more likely to potentially have, and again, we don't have enough research on this, but there's emerging research, is that neurodiverse people may be more likely to have dementia-related declines.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because if we're already having problems with our neurons and our pruning in our brain and that kind of thing, that is kind of the beginnings of dementia and stuff like that, is not pruning the correct things or over pruning. So it makes sense that we potentially be at higher risk for that.
It's so interesting because when I was in grad school and worked and learned about Parkinson's disease and then worked with Parkinson's folks, I really wondered if there was a direct link to ADHD
Mm,
because it's a lack of dopamine in your brain that leads to
right.
Parkinson's. And I remember just having the curiosity and asking one of my professors and her like completely dismissing it. And I was just like,
Uh,
oh, well, it could be. You don't fucking know. But it's really interesting to watch these different diseases progress and then connect them to like present brain structures.
Yeah. The other thing that is brought up a lot is stress. Our stress levels are
Yeah.
insanely high,
Fuck.
especially in people with any sensory sensitivities and that kind of
Mhm.
thing. And stress, can do a number of things to your body.
What we talked
But
about in the chronic illness
yeah,
episode. Yeah.
and then that can lead to like having higher risks of having diabetes
hmm
or having other chronic health conditions. So.
That's such a great point.
So on the subject of age-related things, were you told as a kid that you were an old soul or older than you seemed?
Always.
Yeah.
Still am.
Yeah. Really? Still now?
hmm
I am the reverse now.
Really?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I was always told I was an old soul and like I don't know, I was advanced or like that I spoke well, that kind of thing when I
Hmm.
was young. Definitely makes sense now with diagnosis. But now I get like the opposite. Like I get told that I look like super young, and like now that I'm unmasking a little bit more, I do a lot of things that are a little bit more like, I don't know, kiddish, where I like wear my hair however I want and wear sparkles or bright colors, whatever. So then now I get a little bit more of the younger side.
The childlike type of
Mhm.
person. No, I definitely see that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I always was given the feedback growing up that I was wise beyond my years.
Mhm.
And um, now it's more of like internal, or like if I'm with friends, they'll be like, wow, you're so wise. Like that is the feedback I get. But I think I would like to tap more into the more
Mhm.
childlikeness. And I
I was
think
gonna say I feel like it's some of my regression that's like made me not
really
because you say like the smartest things like a lot of times when I'm listening back to the
not say
podcast
the smartest
you
things.
do
Oh my
when I listen
God.
back to the podcast a lot of times and I'm editing and I'm like I just said like 29 times and
Me
said something that meant
too.
like nothing and then you come on and you're like with this insightful thing that I've said and I'm like God damn it McKenna you make me look like I can't talk.
No. Can we actually talk about this? Because I swear that I say, like, I have definitely picked up the stims that I do on, like, what will I say? I'll say, like, anyways, or whatever. No, you're so funny. It's interesting to bring regression into it. I don't know if it's that. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It is really interesting, though, to kind of think about it as a way of regression because I think of myself almost as like being very serious as a kid,
Mm.
very relaxed as a really like young adult college student. Like, I think
Mm.
that was my most relaxed time in life.
Oh.
And I feel like I was very childlike. I felt very free. I don't know if it was because I was in safety of college and just like had 3 meals a day if I wanted. And I, knew that I was going to class. I had that routine down. Um, but after that, that's when I feel like I just began to be I found a lot more anxiety and a lot
Mm.
more seriousness. And I feel like that kind of followed me to now. And now I'm trying to get to like more childlike, relaxed
Huh.
tendencies. So,
Yeah, I definitely did kind of the opposite. Like my
really?
school was definitely an extremely stressful time for me, and I feel like I went a little like off the walls and like trying to figure out like where I was supposed to be and
Yeah.
like going to like extremes of like participating in so many things and like not being able to do anything and then like I was just all over the place in school, but I was also like very I don't know very serious, very like in my symptoms, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing until I got out of school. And then after that is where things started to like settle for me a little bit. Like it was still like the
Okay.
pressures of job and stuff, but I didn't do well with like school environment and the pressures of that.
Hmm.
So I think I never got to a place where like the routine was enough to counteract like the pressures.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know where else I was going with that,
No, but I
but
just I feel like maybe I'm one step behind you.
mm,
Like I feel like what I've experienced in the last like probably 10 years has been that where it's been like kind of rigid, more stressful.
yeah.
And then like I'm trying to access that childlike portion that you have named as regression, but I don't think it's regression at all.
I think I associate them because I am also like going through general regression, like
Hmm.
not to scare anyone on the road, but I'm going through like a driving regression where like I'm having to use so much more energy to
Yeah.
drive and to like I don't know, catch all the details that I need to catch with my vision and like I don't know, speaking, I feel like I can't like come up with, logical sentences. Like my first 3 or 4 years as a clinician, I felt like I could like really educate people really clearly. And like some of that is from it being a while now since I've been in anatomy and like all my studying to know exactly what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But it feels like I'm regressing in other areas. So maybe that's why I like associate them together. But
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it's like also looking at the word regression too, of like is the definition just that you've had the skill and then now it's gone and it's lost? Or is it more of like a negative thing where you feel like you had this skill and now like you're stepping into a person that like you're ashamed of becoming? And maybe that's my projection. That is 100% my projection. So,
light bulb.
um,
No, because
here we are.
I think I feel the first one of those two. That's a good definition between the two because I definitely feel the first one. I'm losing skills, but it's not necessarily that I've lost like myself in that.
Yes.
Like if anything, I'm finding myself more and I'm like finding where I want to be in life more, but the skills themselves are going away.
Yeah. And I can heavily relate to that.
Yeah.
Like 100%. And it is, I'm glad that we're talking about this because it's something that I have really thought about, especially since being diagnosed and understanding that like skill regression likely is a part of what happened for that diagnosis to occur. And like those skills won't come back. And making peace with that and peace with the change to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The next one I had was about why we look young. So, like, I don't know if this is a millennial problem or, but a lot of people do say, like, people who are neurodiverse look younger on average. I found a really interesting one that said that they think that some of that could be because of hypermobility syndromes and Ehlers-Danlos.
Yeah, because of
skin elasticity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. The other theory, for millennials is the preservatives that we were fed as a child between like Lunchables and Cheetos and like, I don't know, everything.
Microwave dinners.
Yeah, the lack of monitoring what's in our food and water.
Gotta call up our old friend RFK Jr.
Kool-Aid pouches, yeah, like everything that had so much preservatives in it. Anyways, I've seen that theory about millennials before.
That's really funny. I haven't heard that one. Yeah, I have a friend at work who's actually going to be here this Wednesday.
Yeah.
But she's 26 and she started there 2 years ago. And I obviously just started there this year. And on the last day of school, we were all just talking as a staff and someone is retiring and she comes up to me and she goes, "Do you mind if I ask you how old you are?" I was like, "I'm 32. She was like, "I just thought that you were Catherine's eggs or younger." I was like, "Nope, I'm 32 and I don't know what I'm doing, but here I am."
Yep. I didn't figure out skincare until the pandemic, so it's not like I had an early jump on that.
Exactly. I still don't know skincare. I feel like I go through like hyperfixations on skincare.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, it's so funny because I also don't feel like commenting on my age is not like a compliment or a like negative jab. I'm very neutral.
You're saying like, "Oh, I didn't realize that it was rude to ask people's age."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wouldn't have thought of that either. I'm just like, I just want to know like how old I am. Yeah. On that topic, can you tell how old people are, do you think?
No.
No.
That was the weirdest.
I love it. That was great.
Okay, let me. We're answering.
So yeah, some people on Reddit were saying like anyone else unable to guess how old someone is. Like, I'm so unusually bad at this. Maybe it's a prosapnosia thing, which is facial blindness. But maybe it's because I don't really care what age people are or something else. And then there's some funny comments, like people saying like 100% can't guess. If you're between 20 and 45, you look 25 to 32 to me without. And then another person said, I only categorize children, teenagers, adults, and older people or elders. Adults is an extremely big category. Which I definitely have facial blindness, so that's probably part of it for me.
Yeah. It's not something that I really think about. Like, I don't think about how old people are. And I think that it always catches me off guard when someone's like, "How old do you think I am?" Because I know that they're looking for like a certain answer. And I'm just like, I don't fucking know how old you are.
Yeah.
Like,
no guess.
Yeah. I don't care about that stuff.
On a funny story on here, and back to the police too. What do you know?
Full circle.
Someone commented on that post and said, I had to fill out a police report once, and I was told it was incredibly unhelpful because when I was asked to describe the man's age, I said somewhere probably between 20 and 50. And they asked if I could be more specific. And I said he wasn't super old, but he definitely wasn't a teenager. when they later arrested him and found out he was in his 30s, and I was asked how I didn't know that. But I still don't know how I was supposed to tell. He didn't have any noticeably distinguishing age features like wrinkles or gray hair, but I don't know.
Yeah, again, that societal expectation of just like, let's profile people.
Yeah.
It's just weird to me. It really is. I
Yeah.
find I said this a couple weeks ago and like it really surprised me when I said it out loud, but
Mhm.
like it really is true. I don't comment a lot on other people and I really don't think about other people. Like
Hmm.
whether it's I don't like look at you and think how old you are, or I don't
Hmm.
look at you and think, oh, you have like beautiful hair, or you have like,
Hmm.
I don't know, this type of body. It's just, it's something that like I know is a part of our society and it is a part of so many people's brains, but like I have never, I never think of that. Is that
Hmm.
weird?
I think so. I mean, I think that's just one way of like your brain working around other
Yeah.
people. Because
Yeah.
do you have facial blindness, like where you
I don't
only
know.
recognizing people, or like for me, it presents as being like if I see someone out of context, or if I like don't see them for a while, I can't picture their face or like can't connect like who they are with who they are. So like I constantly live in fear of like running into someone in public and being like, I have no idea who the hell you are. Like,
Yeah.
mm,
I usually recognize people. I don't
yeah.
think that that's ever happened to me, but time will
Because
tell.
I think that I think
Progression.
that I am the opposite of you. I
Okay.
notice excessively like what else is going on with other
Okay.
people, but and I'm the person that also like looks in mirrors all the time, and I got told a lot that people thought that I was vain, that I was trying to find my
Yes.
own appearance and like being like, how do I look? Oh my gosh. But it's because I think I'm using both of those things to orient myself to the world and to try to figure out where I fit in that, because I have dysmorphia pretty badly of like I
Sure.
don't know what I look like. Like
Yeah.
I used to with one of my partners when we went to the gym, not that I wanted to like judge anyone's body or cared or anything like that. I literally would just ask them like, do I look like that person? Am I the same
You're
size as that
curious in
person?
comparison.
Am
Yeah.
I, am I as fit as that person?
Yeah.
Like I can't tell. I have no idea. And then like looking back on pictures of myself, then I can kind of be like, oh, like I had changed in this way in this year, or like,
Yeah.
my hair was shorter or whatever. Like I cannot orient to that to myself.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really cool reflection because I avoid mirrors and
Hmm.
I do not think of myself in comparison to other people or like maybe, this is so meta. I don't think I can even, I don't think I can go here today,
Yeah.
but interesting.
Yeah.
I know my little sister looked in, it's like a family joke that she used to watch herself eat because
Mm.
there was a mirror at the table and she used to watch herself eat and talk and
Oh,
like just talk to the mirror and la 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 la. And it reminds me totally of what you were saying. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like I used to like practice facial expressions like people talk about and stuff,
That's
but
very common.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I had no idea that that was why I was doing it. I was just like, I don't know, I just had to make sure I didn't have something in my teeth or like, so,
So cool.
yeah.
Thank you.
So we talked about what age we look. What age do you feel?
Jesus. It's a loaded question. I feel like this is a regression in a good way. Like I feel like I am aging backwards, which is it's such a privilege. I could cry. Um, I think I feel my age,
Yep.
32. Um, but last year I felt like I was on the brink of like the end of my life. I'm just like
I am 89 and
pretty much. I can't think.
Mm,
I can't move.
yeah,
I was just in so much pain.
yeah.
So yeah,
Well, a
which
lot of
is interesting.
people
Oh,
talk
sorry, what
about.
were you gonna say? I was just gonna say that like it's interesting that we associate a certain ability of movement or a certain amount of pain to be like an age. Like it's
Mm,
an age-related thing when in reality it has nothing to do with age.
yeah, that's
But
true. Mm.
what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say a lot of people were talking about how that like kind of dichotomy is there of like the physical age and then their mental age feeling totally different. And I don't know, for me, mental age is weird because like it feels like I like very like I swing wildly. Like I'll either feel like really mature and like aged in my brain,
Hmm.
or I'll feel like extremely childish. But it
Hmm.
very much depends on like what I'm doing in the moment. Like,
Extremes.
yep, like if I'm talking about finances and stuff, like I may as well be like 52. I've got everything figured out in my head. Like it's very organized systems. Like I know so many facts and details and like
Yeah.
whatever. But then if I go to do something like physical or like creative, like dancing or ice skating or rollerblading, whatever,
Yeah.
like then I like jump into that like child like brain that's just like let's play and like I went to the Ren Fair the other night and it was very like let's just play and like skip and
Yeah.
like,
Have fun.
yeah.
No, I really love hearing this because it's like you're associating states of being with ages.
Mm,
Like you're associating having more intelligence, or maybe intelligence is the wrong word, like having more clarity over a concept when you're
mm,
talking about finances, of being like older. When you're talking about having fun, letting go, you're talking about being a kid again.
mm.
Like, and comparing them to ages rather than like it's all who you are at this time. That's just I've never thought about it this way
I think it
clearly.
goes back to the like not knowing who I am.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
yeah,
I can't picture myself. I can't like I
yeah.
don't know. I don't have that like firm identity very well. So I think I do use a lot of like structures and boxes to like understand what's happening in my brain.
We love to
Mm,
intellectualize.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Age, it's so interesting. When I think of age right now, I am being really hard on myself for where I thought I would be at age
Mm,
32. And that is part of our next episode, grief.
mm,
But that to me, because there is so much societal pressure and expectation, not only for things you do in your life, but the age you do them, and
mm,
like certain successes that go with that. And I just thought I would be in a very different place by age 32.
mm.
And yeah, that's something that I think about age with.
There was a comment that made me laugh. Somebody said, I am simultaneously a 12-year-old's special interests, a 23-year-old's libido, and a 68-year-old professor drinking brandy and smoking a pipe whilst reading some heady first edition. And I've pretty much always been this way since I was young. I was like, oh,
Timeless,
yep.
really.
I like the professor one though in my head because I do kind of feel like that sometimes when I'm like in those modes. It's like,
Yeah.
ah, yes, like smoking my pipe and
I definitely like because I was in college, I didn't like partake in drinking or like I literally thought marijuana was a pill you took, you guys. Like I had no awareness of drugs at all. But now I'll like have gummies here and there, and I feel like it is accessing like what I would have been in college if I was fun.
Oh my gosh. Another common experience seemed to be people feeling like they were like some number of years behind. Like a lot of people were saying, like, I feel like I'm like 10 years behind. Like at 34, I feel like I'm just starting my life,
Yeah.
where I feel like 24 should have been, but somehow I'm like behind by those 10 years. Mm.
Okay, so I have a lot to say about this. And it goes back to what I thought where I would be at 32.
Yeah.
So I feel like the way I've aged has not been the milestones that I thought I would reach all the way like back to like I feel like my socialized milestones are very far back from people. Like I
Mm.
had my first kiss at 18. I didn't get my first job really until 32, like my
Hmm.
first salaried position. I lost my virginity in my late 20s. I so all of these like milestones that you're supposed to go through kind of in like your earlier life,
Mm.
or like in your teens, I just feel like, or even first heartbreak, like my first heartbreak at age 32 rather than like in high school.
Yeah.
So that's something that I relate to a lot, of feeling very behind. But I don't feel behind. I just feel like I did it very differently than
Yeah, it's
other.
happening at a different time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not ready for certain things because I haven't walked through them,
Yeah.
even at age 32.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think on that topic, kind of it's a big question that people were asking about aging because we have so little information about aging is a lot of younger people asking like, does it get better as you age? Um, if you want to, you could jump in and say anything, or I can just read what's kind of next on
Like
the
life, does life get better?
That is very vague. Does it get
Huh.
better? Um, and I think a couple of the responses that I saved, this one says, I think it's less that it gets better regarding the world around you and more like you know more about yourself, your needs, and your limitations.
That's exactly what I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
and this helps you make understanding of the world and make choices that help you navigate the world around you. To be blunt, the world isn't always fair. It can
No.
be cruel and it doesn't owe you anything. But in some ways, being autistic kind of releases you from a certain social rule that I've noticed other people feel they've boxed themselves into. So it's almost like you navigate outside of the box. And that isn't always easy. You will meet challenges, but at the same time, it's weirdly freeing. So I can't promise you that it will get better, but just know your experience, knowledge, and skill set now is likely to be different from, let's say, 5 years from now.
I so resonate with that.
Another person said had some really good advice. They said they're a little bit older and they said neuroplasticity is a great thing. You'll be able to learn a ton of stuff regardless of whether you're autistic or not. So try to learn some of the stuff that doesn't come easily to you. In my case, that was recognizing and expressing emotions.
Hmm.
Beware of pitfalls like addictions. They will suck energy out of you that you would need for social survival. No excuses. Being autistic doesn't free you from a responsible lifestyle. There are autistic assholes who use their autism as an excuse. Dump.
Yeah.
Elon. Learn to forgive yourself. That was hard for me. I'm a founding member of the Society of Frustrated Perfectionists, but I'm on the right track. And this person was Christian, and they said knowing that God loves to forgive helps a lot. Know your specific challenges and find ways to navigate them. I need a lot of me time and I get stressed easily, so a healthy routine helps. But challenging myself also teaches me that it almost never gets as terrifying as I think it will. And there's probably a lot more, so keep on learning. Never give up. There's ups and downs, but don't let the downs define you.
Mm.
Let's see, another person said, it did get better for me. With age, I learned that instead of trying to be what others thought I should be, instead it was freeing and wonderful just say, F it, take me as I am or leave me be. Also,
What I am.
yeah. Also, the time I realized being normal was highly overrated, and they're just as much a hot mess as they think we are.
Yeah. No, I really feel like all of these feedback is like exactly where I'm at
Mm,
in my current state of being, where it's like a lot of learning who I am, what my limitations are, being really real with myself, saying fuck it to any sort of societal expectation that I've put on myself or that society's put on me. And it's just like,
mhm.
and that came with time. And time is a direct reflection of age because it's just time that's passed by.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that part has definitely gotten better for me. That and like they said, with the understanding of like what my diagnosis is
hmm.
and what my, past history with like suicidal ideation and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like knowing where that was coming from
Yes.
now has made that a million times better.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think yeah, F it is is where I'm finally getting to in life. Like I'm glad that I'm getting there because it's
Totally.
really hard when you try too hard for too long.
It's so hard when you just keep on trying, 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 and then you just never get it because you're trying to be someone that you're not.
Mhm. Yeah,
You
definitely.
just can't be successful in that.
Well, that's about all I had on that one since we don't know a whole lot about aging, but
Not
I think it'll be
yet.
an interesting journey. I have seen some studies in the past that one of the things that helps you live the longest, is not Dr. Pepper, which a lot of people say, apparently.
Really?
Yeah. Every time they do an interview
Interesting.
with people being like, what's your secret to living to 106? They say something silly like, Dr. Pepper, or I have a glass of rum every day, or like, I don't know, it's always something really ridiculous. Anyways, they did an actual study on it and they found that the number one biggest thing is just thinking that you're going to live a long time. So it's,
Mindset.
yeah, a lot of it is mindset. And like, honestly, that's
Amen.
what I see the most happy people when they're older is people who have that mindset of like, yeah, things are fine. Like, yeah, this is where I am. Like, I've had health things, I've had whatever, but like, I'm not stuck on the past or like what I'm missing because I'm
Yeah.
aging. Like, they're just, in the present moment. And
I love that. And I also think that so much has to do with genetics
Hmm.
and environment
Oh
too,
yeah,
and things that
absolutely.
you can't control. So I
Yeah.
thought that there is like
Eh,
a lot of that as well as like
yeah, that was just like an interesting predictor that they
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like the thing that keeps you
It's not the thing that
yeah.
keeps you alive. You just fake it till
Yeah.
you make it,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah. No, that was just
Going to make
like
it to 100.
in the land of predictors. That was one of the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was just gonna say, I have a family member who is in her late 80s. She's my grandma. And she's been talking about dying since I was little. So
Gosh. Like
I
there's so she's gonna
think
go.
her genetics have kept her around.
It's the acceptance though, right? Like it's the acceptance of like I'm gonna keep living or I'm gonna die. I'm probably gonna die tomorrow. So I see you guys later.
I guess so. All I remember is that she gave me a key of her house when I was like little. I was probably like 6 or 7. So, my parents always brought me to her house anyway, so I never needed a fucking house key.
Uh-huh.
But on the house key it had moons and stars, and she was like, "So when I leave, you'll have something to remember me by when you look at the moon and stars."
Oh,
Like, okay,
dark. But
trauma.
and then she lived what? Like she's still living?
She's still living.
Oh, people are so funny.
People are really interesting. Maybe that's why I don't think about age too much because it's just
Right?
like, this is
Uh,
weird.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's really cool. This has like sparked a lot of brain activity. I unexpectedly sorry.
McKenna's got lots of thoughts.
I do have lots of thoughts. We'll keep them inside though.
These are inside thoughts. All right. Thank you guys for joining us again. Be unapologetically you this week
Find your joy.
and age gracefully, whatever that
Ooh.
means.
Thanks for joining us this week. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Music.
Please like, subscribe, and leave us a review. We could use some of those. If you want to get pictures that go along with our episodes and follow along, join us on Instagram and TikTok.
Thanks, hotties. Bloopity bloop bloop.
Bloopers. Okay, you ready, Freddie?
Yeah, I'm ready, Freddie.
Are we interviewing your water bottle space?
Yeah.
Hello, I'm water bottle.
Disability pride.